Hi guys, welcome to Grand Slam Sports. I'm Samuel Gailey alongside Jace Hodge. We're going to talk some soccer a little bit before we get into like the nitty-gritty of our episode. Obviously, college basketball coming up, so we're going to look at a little preview. We're going to go over some things. Obviously, basketball is not my expertise, but you and Charles are going to dive in. But fortunately, soccer is. So we're going to start off talking about the game yesterday's. We're going to put it up here. Chelsea falling 1-0 to Liverpool in extra time. Van Dijk with a heroic header in like the 116th minute to win Liverpool the game. Chase, did you watch it? Not Chase. Oh, gosh, man. Did you watch it, Jace? Did you watch any of the highlights? Did you see any of this?
No, I didn't watch any highlights.
Oh,
but
really? Wow.
I didn't even watch the game. I didn't figure that Chelsea had any say in this one. Liverpool is the better team far and away. Chelsea is, 11th in the Premier League. I mean, they always play close games, usually 0-0 games, so it didn't surprise me. I woke up, I saw it was extra time. It didn't really surprise me.
Right.
But Liverpool winning the game, no surprise there. Jurgen Klopp last season, he's going to win trophies.
This is sort of like Klopp's last gasp here in the Premier League.
Yeah.
They've won the Carabao Cup. They are still in the Europa League. They're still in the FA Cup, and they're number one in the Premier League right now. So they're looking at winning 4 more trophies at the end of Klopp's sort of legendary career here at Liverpool. Chelsea had opportunities to win the game. Modric had an opportunity. I know Conor Gallagher had a 1v1.
Average Modric, he's not hitting that.
Yeah, I know. Conor Gallagher had a 1v1 in regular time, actually. And he just couldn't put it away, smashes it right into the keeper. Keeper makes a nice save. But I really wanted to talk about who Liverpool was missing in this game. They're missing Mo Salah. They
played a very, very young lineup that they put out there. Chelsea, on paper, was the stronger team in terms of lineup. I mean, Chelsea, they spent, £1 billion on all these players.
So, I think I saw, Chelsea paid, 450 million euros for their midfielding of Caicedo and I forget the other, and Kunku, and then they played against Endo and Gravenberch, who Liverpool got for pennies. Yep. And unfortunately, both were subbed off with injuries, so that just adds to Liverpool's woes at the end.
Liverpool had Kelleher in goal. They had a bunch of youngsters in the back and on the wings.
Curtis Jones played at a position that was not really something that he played a lot, and they still got it done. So,
Chelsea sucks.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Does Chelsea suck, or did Liverpool get lucky here with a 116th minute header from the only person that seems to be healthy?
It's a mixture of both. Liverpool, they may have gotten lucky in this one. I mean, they competed the entire game. They had chances in their own right to win this game in regular time, but they didn't finish them as well. I mean, they had a goal, got ruled out for, I think, offsides. I think it was VAR looking at it. But, I mean, Chelsea, they need to figure it out. You can't go spend £1 billion every season and still be bottom half of the Premier League.
I think
and this is actually their fifth straight cup final.
I mean, we're talking about Modric, who's signed for, I believe, 7 years on his contract with no buyout clause, I think. So it's going to be interesting watching Chelsea move forward. I think a lot of stuff has to happen.
I agree.
We're going to move on to Mr. Maya Soccer himself, Lionel Messi, and what he is thinking about, especially going forward. There's 2 things coming up: the Olympics and the Copa of America. So he has sort of a choice on which one he goes to. Does he want to go to the Olympics, try to win a gold medal, or do you think he wants to help his country?
He's going Copa America. That's not even an argument. There's no way. I mean, Olympics is more for youngsters to get out and play. It isn't really all that.
But even if they win the Olympics, do you think that's something that Lionel Messi wants to? I wouldn't say stat pad his legacy. I don't think so. You think I want to be his final stat?
If he was to choose Copa America or Olympics, it's going to be Copa America because you're going to have Brazil, Uruguay, obviously all these South American countries, plus USA, Canada, Mexico this time. So it's going to be a very competitive Copa America, and he's one of those. He wants 2.
United States, like you said, is going to be.
They're hosting it.
They're hosting them, so it's going to be really entertaining to definitely see United States.
Especially for the U.S. because this is big for the U.S. because they have a young, talented squad, but they've yet to be tested by these big name squads, minus the England and the Dutch in the World Cup.
And they held their own versus England. The past couple of years, they've held their own.
And
looking at Weston McKennie,
and they were down by 1 at one point against the Dutch in the round of 16. So they have the squad. It'll be good. Nice drop by the way.
I know, my bad. Sorry.
It'll be
I play
good.
soccer, not catch them.
It'll be good for the U.S. to get some real tests against some real talent because that'll improve them in the long run, especially heading into the World Cup in 2 years. Also here in the U.S.
Very excited about the World Cup. Very excited about soccer in general in the future. One thing I'm not excited about is seeing this man hang up his cleats, possibly in the near future. Ronaldo as well.
Still has a few more years in him,
a few more years, really?
I mean,
what else does he have to do? What else can he do?
Another World Cup.
Another World Cup, yeah, that's exactly. He's going to be on crutches
I mean,
for that.
hey, he just scored a game-tying goal last night in the MLS to tie LA Galaxy, my favorite MLS
Did you
team.
see that chip he went over that injured guy too?
Yeah,
that was comical.
That's kind of crazy, Messi. I mean, hey, he's just here to have some fun at this point. He's just having fun. He's not as competitive as it used to be over in his Barcelona days, his PSG days. He's just having fun now, enjoying his basically retirement at this point here in Miami. Speaking
of PSG, we're going to move on to the transition to without this man right here, Mbappe getting subbed off.
Is it official? I can't figure it out.
It's
It's been 3 years in the making of Mbappe leaving. Is he actually finally going to leave?
Yeah, he is. I don't think that he can go back on his word.
This has been like 3 years of this, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's the money, man. Money changes people, and unfortunately for youngsters like this, they usually take the money over a big deal move. If Real Madrid actually want him this year, I think this is the last offer he's ever going to get from Real Madrid. If he doesn't take it, then I think he's really stupid.
Because Real Madrid, that Madrid is the only team going after them?
Yeah, I mean,
I saw the report.
Man United. You're looking at Man United. You're looking at
Man City met with his officials.
Not going there. He's going.
They
to
met
where
a few weeks
idol.
back. Just letting you know.
He's going where his idol went.
I agree. I 100% say that. I'm just speaking a fact that I saw on ESPN.
Well, I think Manchester City need to defend their allegations first and then go forward.
115 charges. I don't really care.
Okay.
Win in trouble.
Right. I mean, we're talking about a PSG team who's sort of like in a farmers league. I don't think they're going to miss him too much. I mean, you got Giancarlo Ramos here from Benfica.
I like him a lot.
I like
Giancarlo Ramos a lot.
So it's going to be sort of a new thing at PSG, and I honestly think it's for the better. I think it's going to be a more team-oriented playing style.
It'll be good to get him away from the squad, see how they can do without Mbappe. I mean, PSG's been in this rut where they just cannot win the Champions League. They've had
a stacked team.
They made a final a few years ago against Bayern Munich. They lost 1-0, obviously. That made you happy. Since then, your Bayern has fell off. So
I know. I don't want to talk about it. That's okay.
We'll
get into it later.
You signed Harry Kane. That's a curse. Come on. You know what's happening.
Yeah, I know. I knew it as soon as they signed him, but it's all right.
Leverkusen.
I think the PSG is sort of realizing that they can't buy wins.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening, and I think their ownership is realizing that, hey, this guy, I wouldn't say is trouble in the locker room, but it's sort of disgruntling everyone else when they're like, okay, pass the ball to Mbappe.
It doesn't help PSG
when
their league isn't as good as the standards of the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, because their league isn't up to that par. They have a few good teams, Lyon, Marseille, Monaco, maybe, but that isn't like how you have the top 5 or 6 in the Premier League who's competitive game in, game out. And that doesn't help them in the long.
Do you think the addition of Mbappe to Real Madrid is Champions League friendly? Is going to be in the Champions League?
For Real Madrid?
Yeah. Winning Champions League. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they already have a squad. Now you're adding arguably the best striker in European football. It is going to be crazy.
Well, moving on. Speaking of which, we're going to move on to table talk here. We're going to do the first my Bundesliga and
on cue.
Okay, so my Bayern are now at the top. No, I'm joking. Leverkusen sit at the top.
0 losses.
Unfortunately, 8 points clear.
I just want to talk about Leverkusen. They haven't lost a single game all year across any competition. The DFB Pokal, they're still in it.
Yeah.
The Europa League, they're still in it. We haven't lost a game. Bundesliga, they haven't lost a single game. That squad they have, the coach they have, perfection.
They deserve to win it. I mean, like, you're talking about VfB Stuttgart as well, having a great spell of performances here. 1 draw and 4
It's
wins
wild because I thought if any team would overtake Bayern at some point, it'd be Dortmund or Leipzig.
Yeah.
But Leverkusen, wow.
Leverkusen really turned around.
And they're running away with it, too.
I mean, like we touched on it last show. I mean, like it's the use of the wingbacks, Grimaldo and Frimpong getting up the sides and delivering crosses.
I love Frimpong.
That's what happens. I know a lot of people are going to come calling for his services definitely in the summer. It's going to be interesting to see if Leverkusen is going to let him go.
Try and keep that squad, keep the coach, and run it back.
But that's not going to happen.
Because
there's no
next
way.
year they'd be in the Champions League. Imagine this squad in the Champions League, what they could do. They could do some real damage.
Well, we're going to be looking forward to that sooner than later. Leverkusen do, I think, in my opinion, as a Bayern fan, do deserve to win the Bundesliga. And
they might go
curse continues.
They might go with the trouble of DFB Pokal, Europa League, and Bundesliga.
We're moving on to. Thank you, Charles. Awesome. And Charles is sitting happy over there. He's in Milan, top of the table, 66 points. Juventus behind, 57, and Milan, 53. I don't really see any changes. I don't see any surprises. Inter Milan have sort of won
Other than
this kind of handily.
I can see Bologna falling out of the UCL spot.
Yeah, I see Atlanta moving up.
I see Atalanta or maybe even Lazio making the late season.
Do you think this is sort of just a race for second and third at this point?
Oh yeah, Inter Milan has this on locks. I mean, they have a game in hand, up by 9 points already. There's no way they lose the league. If they lose the league, looking at you, Charles, over there.
Yeah, they're bottlers.
He's gonna be one sad man.
They're bottlers, and that's like talking about like Arsenal type bottling.
Napoli, I can't get a hold on Napoli. What happened to them? They blew.
What happened?
They blew out the Serie A.
They don't know what's happening to them.
They blew out the Serie A last year.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think you have a disgruntled striker in
they can still get back in the UCL if they win the UCL, but
if we're talking, if they win one game, they're going to bump up to 7. If they win 2 games, and, it could still possibly work out for Napoli, but kind of a disappointment. I mean, sort of influx and outflux of managers here, and managers have a real big impact on the team. And finally, we're going to be looking at the Premier League. Thank you, Charles. Liverpool
close.
sit at the top.
You want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, you want to talk about?
No, not that. You want to talk about a title race? This is a proper title race right here. With 12 games to go, 3 teams within 2 points of each other. This is a title race in its entirety right here.
It's gonna be. You know that scene in Cars where like he sticks out his tongue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be exactly like that. It's going to be a 3-way tie, and I mean, I don't see Arsenal pulling out anything crazy. I think they're going to sputter out. And
let me talk City for a second.
Man City.
Let me talk City. I want to talk City for a second. Their next 5 games involve Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa, United, and Brighton.
I really think Manchester City is going to come out on top here in this Liverpool.
The next 5 games for City will determine a lot.
Well, no, because Liverpool. We already read out their injury list, and you're talking about Gravenberch and Endo both leaving the Carabao Cup with injuries as well. Endo leaving on crutches, and Gravenberch leaving on a stretcher. So we're talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold knee, Alisson thigh, Nunez knock, Diego Jota knee, Salah thigh, Dominic Schleber thigh, Ryan Gravenberch, and Endo two new. Where is their midfield?
They're making use of it. They're still first in the Premier League, so I'm not too. I mean.
They barely got by Chelsea, who's currently sit at 11th with a wonder header from Van Dijk. I would be scared if I'm Liverpool because obviously Erling Haaland is running like a robot right behind them. I see Manchester. I mean, I hate to say it, but I really do see Manchester City winning.
I mean, I sure hope you're right, but City's just been on the level that they usually are because they haven't been there. You look at their goal differential. Usually they're running away with that like the top goal differential in all the league. They're only 33 right now. They haven't been as clinical as they had been in the past, and they haven't been as smooth defensively as they had been in the past. It's just been City just doesn't look like the squad they could be.
I think it's sort of been a cruising season for all the top.
They came off a treble, a Super Cup, a Club World Cup, and now they're kind of like, we won everything. What's now?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's just sort of a cruising season, sort of figuring out. Brighton dropped for me. Brighton was really a bright spot in the Premier League early on. I mean, we were talking about them. They were up in the 3-4, and then their form starts slipping. You lose a game here, you lose a game there. They're still in the Europa League, so you drop 3 points.
They still got some extra game going on in between that.
Yeah,
Man United, they're making their way up.
Slowly but surely.
They've started to get up there, but they just lost to Fulham at home.
I think an old manager, Arsene Wenger, always talked about top 3, and he said if you get top 3 in the Premier League every year, you should consider that season a success. And everybody laughed at him, and he got fired because Arsenal wasn't winning. But I really think he really meant what he said.
You don't understand
how hard it is. Yeah, you don't understand how hard it is
to get top 3 in the Premier League, let alone what City's done these past few years. That's almost impossible. I mean, no one can do that. That shouldn't be possible in the Premier League because this is the most difficult league in the world. You don't understand. Teams down here could beat the top 5 in like a French league.
Oh, I can see Luton Town being in the top 5 or 6 in League One. I see Crystal Palace being in the top 6 or 7 in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
I see Wolves right here sitting with 38 points in Serie A.
I don't want to exaggerate it, but it really is that crazy because the Premier League is the most competitive league in the world.
It is. I have no problem saying that. It's where the greats are made. It's where the greats are broken.
Unprecedented that City's won 3 in a row, maybe even 4 in a row this year.
I think it's a lot of Pep Guardiola, but I also think it's a lot of pockets, a lot of deep pockets, man. But it's shady like that. It's shady like that.
Hey, winners win. Winners win.
All right. We're going to see who's right and see who's wrong here on Grand Slam Sports. We're going to follow this up with some basketball MLB. Charles is going to be on, so stay with us here on Grand Slam Sports after this break.
Welcome to Grand Slam Sports. Today we're going to be talking about some baseball here. Starting off the weekend, we had spring training for the first time. Some good games, especially for the Yankees and the Dodgers. The Yankees had a game where they scored 22 runs.
They also allowed 10, though. That's
against the Tigers.
I mean, it's the first time they've been back pitching from these pitchers, so give them some time to get back in the groove and the swing of things, because it's not easy to go right into it and pitch like a 1-2 run ball game.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, you start the season off, you spend all this time in the off-season pitching a lot, but nothing could beat that real game feel, especially against a team that wants nothing more than to beat you. So in that situation, not the best, but hey.
And the Yankees just won again today.
Just won again today, the day we're filming this, which is on
9-2.
Monday. But of course, with those that do not know, our new schedule, our new show times will be Tuesdays at 4 here and on UIndyTV. So stay tuned for that. But also, the Dodgers dominated throughout the weekend, as they should.
Move on, Dodgers, no one cares.
Moving on to the next actual big piece of Dodgers news, though, Shohei Ohtani will be hitting in his first game against the White Sox tonight, or I guess at the time that this releases. Shohei versus my White Sox in the Cactus League game. Not exactly what I'm looking for. So, how do you feel about Shohei making his debut?
I mean, it's spring training. It's not going to matter too much, in my opinion. But we'll see how he does. I mean, obviously he can't pitch for a little while, so it's going to be straight batting and whatnot.
$700 million hitter.
So yeah, basically, but hey, when he can get his arm back, he's going to be best player once again in baseball.
Exactly. He's a generational talent, something that we've never seen before. He deserved every bit of that money. And for him not to have his arm, he gets to focus solely on his hitting while he recovers. And I think it's going to be a solid thing for the Dodgers. But just imagine that pitching staff. Kershaw, Shohei.
Kershaw's about done, though.
Glasnow, Miller. Oh, my goodness. It just goes on.
Kershaw is getting close to the...
But Kershaw's still good. And that's still... He could ace on a few teams, and he is their third, maybe fourth pitcher. So... definitely a interesting situation for that. But speaking of free agent signings, we're going to move on to some things that happened lately, and that is with one of my favorite players, Cody Bellinger, signing with the Cubs on a 3-year deal, finally giving hope.
I'm a little bit surprised. I don't know if he would return to Chicago. I mean, the Cubs, we know they had the money, but I don't know if he would want to stay with the Cubs. He warranted a lot of money. He's an elite player, but.
I think the thing about the Cubs, and I think that the biggest thing that they really were looking for is you have a team that can do something this year. You got Shota Imanaga. They didn't pick up anyone else, but they made a few moves here and there, picked up Cody Bellinger. You have Christopher Morel, who's still a phenomenal pitcher. You have the same pitching staff from last year with Justin Steele, who was a Cy Young candidate. I mean, this team has all the potential to make a playoff run in a very weak division. So signing someone like Cody Bellinger just made sense. Moving on to some more free agency talk. This has kind of been the talk of the league lately, has been what is going to happen with Montgomery and Blake Snell. Looking at Blake Snell and Montgomery, they have been heavily focused on by the Angels, who are looking to get a new ace after losing Shohei. How do you feel about the Angels picking up a new lefty ace?
It's not going to help them in any way. They're still going to be one of the worst teams in baseball, in my opinion. They don't really have anybody else. They got Mike Trout. Whoop-de-doo. He's getting up there in age now. They have no one.
Yeah. It just kind of feels like it's just become the shadow realm, the Detroit Pistons of baseball. I mean, this team
the Detroit the Tigers of the West Coast.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the Angels, they let go of a lot of their talent. Mike Trout is a lifelong Angel, according to him. So I guess he's going to, never win a ring. But it's nice. Jordan Montgomery, I think, will find a good home. So will Blake Snell. If you are in one of these situations, where are you going?
The Angels.
Not the Angels. I said personally for Montgomery, I'm a fan of a Red Sox move.
Okay.
Against those
that won't be good either. The Red Sox still suck.
The Red Sox will suck, but it'll be a nice little lefty, something that the Red Sox could use, especially after the loss of Sale. With Blake Snell, same thing, of course, another lefty, but I think he's going to go to the Yankees. They're the only team
that one I doubt.
Cy Young winner, multi-time Cy Young winner.
Could always use an extra pitcher alongside Garrett Cole.
Of course, and Marcus Stroman now.
Marcus Stroman.
I mean, Blake Snell, I think, would be that perfect third guy for a championship.
Oh, the Yankees are building something.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do that whenever you have more money than most franchises combined.
Oh, are you a sad White Sox fan?
I am a sad White Sox
Okay,
fan. But
understandable.
That's besides the point. That's going to be all that we're going to
No,
have
it
for
actually
this.
is part of the point.
Whatever. It's going to be all that we're going to have for this very short baseball segment today because we have a lot of college basketball and March Madness coming your way after this short break.
Go Yankees. Welcome back in. College basketball for the first time all year long. We're nearing March Madness. My name is Jace Hodge. Alongside me, Charles Foster. Let's get right into it. Obviously, we have March Madness coming up here soon. The 68-team bracket to be revealed in just about a half month's time. And as a crew, me, you, Kennedy, Evan, Sam, we're all going to make a bracket. We'll show it up here. And the winner, well, we'll get a prize of some kind.
We're going to have a prize involving some type of food so then the audience among the victor can enjoy their spoils of victory at the desk during a film. So the episode after March Madness ends, we will have whichever winner, including if it's a director, sitting at the desk with us, eating whatever they win and enjoying their...
Obviously, we'll release more details onto how our point system will work, and then obviously our brackets, once the brackets released on Selection Sunday here in about a half a month or so.
Of course.
But we're getting to that time. Spring is around the corner. It's getting warm here in Indy. I know that. 70 degrees today was wild.
Thank you, but it snowed last week, so...
It did snow last week.
Groundhog be lying, but that's beside the point.
But March is just days away, and it's college basketball time.
I mean,
But with college basketball comes court storming. Kyle Filipowski, he got hurt just the other day as Wake Forest stormed the court on the upset win over the Duke Blue Devils. Charles, I want to get your opinion on court storming, and should it be allowed?
I've seen a lot of takes on this. I've seen some people that are like, oh, well, he stuck his knee out, or oh, he did this. I think that the bottom line is, in basketball, there needs to be a little bit of a time. Because in that situation, regardless of if Filipowski was as mad as he was and kind of pushing and shoving, he was stuck in between at least 30 stampeding fans who were all not caring about anything. I mean, you saw fans on the ground. I saw some fans slide like he was in snow. I mean, in football, it's great because you have a field that is 100 yards and there's plenty of room for everyone. But in basketball, on a hardwood floor,
And we
it's just not
saw
safe.
the same thing with Caitlin Clark at the women's basketball level, obviously the best player in all of women's college basketball. She got hurt one of the games after a court storm. I think I agree with you. They need to allow at least 10, 15 seconds for the players to get off.
and so after the handshakes is my opinion. Let the handshakes be done. I get
But
it.
I mean, obviously in the heat of the moment, you just
Yeah.
want to go immediately.
I get
You
it.
don't want to wait because you want to celebrate ASAP because it just happened. You know,
And you can't get rid of it in full because it's what makes college basketball basketball.
it makes
I mean,
it makes college sports as a whole.
And I saw someone say that the fans put in more effort in that court storming than the entirety of the NBA All-Star game. And I mean, that's the way it is.
Imagine if the NBA had court storming.
There's passion there that is unmatched because those kids
the students.
go to that school.
It's the students.
And so I understand. I would be the exact same way as a college student. However, there needs to be time, especially with the safety of the players. This is a top player on a top team that will now be out for a few weeks with a high ankle sprain because of recklessness. I think that there needs to be
So you think no
way.
ban, but kind of a time
A
restriction?
restriction. Enough time to at least get the visiting players off the court.
I feel like that'll limit some people though, because people want to just go ASAP. They want to, as soon as that buzzer rings, run.
Of course, and I mean, after my team wins, I want to climb on top of high buildings and celebrate, but I can't do that because that's how people get hurt. So, I mean, I understand the happiness, but there has to be controlled things. I know Philly fans might not understand that, but everyone else, you got to be controlled. Controlled chaos.
Obviously, Wake Forest, that was an upset win at home over the Duke Blue Devils, but we've seen plenty of upsets here in these last few days. You look right here. Penn State at home at the Rec Center for the first time in, I think, 20, 30 years in the arena, upsetting the number 12 Illinois Fighting Illini. Then you have LSU, a team that might be on a ban if I'm sure, because they had some kind of thing going on with them, but I'm not 100% sure. They beat Kentucky, but the Wildcats since rebounded. They scored 117 last time out. And then the number one team in the nation at the time, the UConn Huskies, they fell to the Creighton Blue Jays.
I'm going to go more into detail about Creighton later. I'm a massive fan of this team. I've been a fan of them for years. Obviously, of course, I am an LSU fan. It's my favorite college. So seeing them get the win over Kentucky, It's a massive thing. We suck at basketball, but we got the win, so we'll take it. Lately, we also suck at football, but that's besides the point. And then, a massive win. Illinois, they do this. I'm from Illinois. I know a lot of people that go there. This is kind of Illinois basketball where they lose really close games at home in big scenarios. It's not something to panic about, but it's definitely something like, okay, with March Madness coming up, the time of all Cinderella stories, losing games like this is kind of, it's a little bit concerning.
Because I'm pretty sure all three of these teams that won then lost their next game.
Yeah.
That's just prime college basketball. At this point in the season, anyone can win anything. We've seen some weird things happen. This, honestly, is the ordinary and by some college basketball standard.
Yeah, and I was writing a story the other day, and I was talking about the fact that this year, the standings don't look like normal. We're seeing schools like Villanova, other things like that, that
gone.
Are kind of down or even gone. But we're seeing, especially like Seton Hall, schools like that. But we're seeing teams like Marquette, who's normally towards the middle, towards the top.
They got a great coach in Shaka Smart.
And we're seeing it feels like a different college basketball than what we're used to. Obviously, the same top.
This is one of the most excited I've been for a tournament in a while, because you genuinely, you have your favorites, the Purdues, the UConns, the Arizonas, the Houstons. They're not. They've all been very inconsistent at times.
This year, I've talked about it many times. It's one of the worst NBA drafts we're going to be seeing
it's not
in a very
good.
long time, and that translates to the college level
when
too.
One of your best prospects is on a team that isn't even NCAA tournament worthy, Isaiah Collier of USC.
Yeah, I think Isaiah Collier has potential to be first.
A guy that I do love.
Oh, of course.
On Kentucky, his name's Rob Dillingham. He's off the bench, been phenomenal off the bench. He's going to be a top 5 pick in my opinion. I think he'll be the best player in the draft.
I think it's just this draft is mediocre. So we're starting to see teams that
next year we'll see the likes of like Cooper Flag and whatnot.
Course.
So we'll get back into some good drafts.
We're
here.
not seeing teams that have the Zion Williamsons or Jason Tatums or every single Duke super team we've ever seen.
I agree on that because I feel like the players are less memorable than they have been in the past. There's not really, minus Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, the main ones, there really isn't anyone that sticks out to you.
Those guys are supernatural bigs.
And notice how they aren't going to succeed in the NBA. In my opinion, I don't think either of them will really translate to the NBA because we see a lot of these bigs in college dominate the college level and win Player of the Year and whatnot, and then they just don't really succeed in the NBA. There's the G League or European player.
Because that's not the type of game, that's not the type of bigs that we look for in the game nowadays. We have Jokic, who's more of a point guard than a center, and Joel Embiid, who spends more time at the free throw line than anything else. So I do like this.
And Carl Anthony Towns, who shoots threes only sometimes.
Exactly. So it's just that's not the game we see anymore. But I still think that some of them might translate over. So I do think it's gonna be fun March Madness for sure.
I 100% agree. But let's look at some early preview from the NCAA. This was their first thing they released, and had the 4-1 seeds being Purdue, UConn, Houston, and Arizona. We'll look at that real quick. But which 1 seed do you think is the biggest threat of the 4 that were listed here? The Purdue, UConn, Houston, and Arizona.
I'm a big fan of defensive basketball, and I think that a program that identifies that defensive basketball, the number 1 team in points allowed, Houston. I know Houston's not normally on a lot of people's radar. They weren't on there last year, and they rightfully so. But Houston's one of my favorite college basketball programs. I feel like they just do it right. They know how to defend very well. Their point differential is one of the highest in the college basketball. I'm Houston all the way out of top 1 seed.
Yeah, so this was as of February 17th. They released their initial top 4 seeds for each region. They had Purdue as the number 1 overall seed, and I believe they won both their games since then. I can't remember if the loss against Ohio State was after this or before this. But either way, I think Purdue still is the best team.
Yeah, I'm pretty
in
sure
college
Purdue is
basketball.
number 1 at this point.
We'll get into the AP poll in a second. I think it's them and Houston are the top 2. But I like Houston. I think they're going to be a real threat come March Madness. But I think if you're talking about which is the biggest threat, it's going to be the Purdue Boilermakers. As an IU fan, this pains me to say, but they are, when they have it going, when the guards actually decide to play good basketball, they are the best team in all of college ball 100%. You got Braden Smith, who's playing phenomenal with the point guard position. Lance Jones playing great small forward. And then best player in a long time, Zach Edey. Player of the year last year, he's going to be player of the year this year.
It's hard to have faith in that team after last year, but at the same time, you gotta open your eyes a little bit. They're a phenomenal team.
And a fun fact, Virginia, the first ever team to lose to a 16 seed as a 1 seed, they won the NCAA tournament the next season. Purdue was the second ever team to do it. Can they repeat what Virginia did
And you know why?
5 years ago.
Because I didn't vote on them. Every single year I have ever voted on Virginia, they have lost in the first or second round.
Last year they lost to Furman first round.
I'm sick of Virginia. I will not be voting for them. You will see it on my.
I don't even know if they're in.
If they make it, they will not be voted for, including any Virginia school. Because I remember last year, I'm pretty sure the team that broke initially was another Virginia school.
Virginia Tech?
It was Virginia Tech. They broke my bracket again. So I'm just Virginia can kiss it. I don't like it.
So even VCU.
Any Virginia
school?
Any Virginia going to vote against.
Okay.
I will keep that.
I respect that. But I think Purdue is the biggest threat at 1 seed. But, I mean, you look at these top 16 teams, you see Kansas and Duke. That's a stacked region right there. Kansas, Duke, Arizona, Auburn.
Good Lord.
As it stood. Iowa State this year has been a surprise to me. At that 3 spot right now in that East region, Iowa State has quietly flown up the ranks all year long.
I mean, it's just a smaller school that has a lot of talent.
Halliburton is all matter, just as a
of course.
quick point out. Sorry, I had to.
I mean, it's a smaller school that is in a easier region, and they're just playing.
I mean, obviously, all this will be entirely different come next month. I mean, these regions are, to be determined.
Yeah.
Obviously, Purdue's the 1 seed. They'll get that Midwest region because that's the first option is to stay as close to home as possible.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they will like to do so. And that means they would play here in Indianapolis those first 2 rounds.
Which we will be doing everything in our power to be going to.
Yes.
I'm assuming so.
100%. But that's our 1 seed look ahead. Now let's go and look at our biggest dark horse for the upcoming tournament. Charles, you're talking about them.
I stay talking about Creighton. I think that they have a program that is very interesting. They've kind of changed their identity a little bit coming in the past years. Back then, they were more of a 3-point. They were
Doug
a
McDermott
3-point
days.
Team. Doug McDermott, Kyle Korver, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. Not Kyle Korver. It was another one of those shooters that went to Creighton. I forget which one it was. I was going to say JJ.
I know a Pacer went there and Andrew Nimhorn.
Yeah, but Creighton is just one of those teams that they're just built well. They have good shooting. They have just solid everything. There's not a lot of star power there. But as you can see, they blew out UConn. And this is just a team that I think can be a bracket buster, and I'm going to be putting a little bit higher than some other people will, personally.
See, I was looking to see my dark horse today. It's tough to tell because I feel like a lot of the teams that are lower are actually good teams. Like Kentucky was down there, but they, to me, aren't a dark horse because they've been there, done that, a blue blood. Yeah. But a team that's been lower this season than they usually are, and they've just been, I feel like, slept on all year long. Gonzaga Bulldogs. They fell out of the rankings for the first time in, I think, years. Last ranking. Now they're back up in it again. They're 22-6. They have a conference they can go and win easily.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, they don't have the squad they had with like the old Drew Timme and all the players they had back then, Chet Holmgren and all that. But they quietly are still making their way into the tournament, and if they get hot, they could knock off a team or two. Yeah,
Big Man University. These make some of they're a big man factory. And I think that this team is it's a solid team all around. And they're really looking like, Gonzaga is always one of those teams that just their program, it's going to be really hard to just take them out. If you're a top seed and you look at Gonzaga in your first round, you're just your timbers are a little bit shivered because you don't want to go against that team. You want to go against a smaller school.
But let's go ahead and look at the last week's game of the week. That we'll start doing that now for each week. This game was phenomenal. If you saw the highlights, number 2 Houston, number 11 Baylor. Obviously Houston now a Big 12 school. They made the move over from the American Athletic Conference last season into the Big 12 with Baylor. Houston, what a win this was. I want to get a video on there of what happened at the end of regulation, but I couldn't. Baylor, the game was tied at 69 apiece, had 1 free throw to shoot. He missed it. Houston grabbed the rebound, chucked up a shot from about 30 feet, nailed it. But he didn't get the ball off in time. It was like 0.1 on the clock, and the ball was still in his hand. But Houston, they still won the game, so it didn't really matter in the end. But still, that would have been a wild ending of the game. This is classic March basketball right here. 2 top-ranked teams, maybe the 2 best teams in the Big 12, not named Kansas, obviously, because Kansas is the Jayhawks. They're arguably the best team in basketball sometimes.
Yeah.
But what a game, overtime even. It's March basketball already.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about how Houston is just one of those teams that, like I said, they're one of my favorite teams, top to bottom. And Baylor is one of those schools that, once again, you just can't count them out of any game. They're going to be a favorite coming into this season. Probably not to win it all, but at least to break some brackets, take out a top team here and there. I think that Baylor has potential to really go far.
Baylor just won it all, what was it, 2-3 years ago? So, they're still up there, obviously. They just got a new arena, too, really cool.
A weird program to be at the top. I feel like Baylor just it never really they just didn't feel like a top team growing up, but out of nowhere they're just amazing.
No, they had I think it was like a 4 or 5 win year. 3 years later, they were national champions.
Yeah, it's insane how that team.
The turnaround was crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking of these Houston Cougars, the top 25 AP poll just released today at the day of recording, number 1. They've gotten their spot back. They had it, I think, earlier in the year. But these top 3 have been the top 3 for the last, I think, 5 weeks or so. Yeah. This is 100% the top 3 in all of college ball, in my opinion.
And I mean, looking at this, I think it's safe to say we already know who I'm going for my winner. On my bracket will probably, as long as they stay healthy, and depending on where they draw.
You're gonna pick a 1 seed?
I might go Marquette. Not Marquette. I was looking
Marquette's
at Marquette.
over there.
I might go Houston here. That's right now my favorite, but we're gonna see kind of based on where they spend. Voting on 1 seeds normally does not go out too well, but I'm a fan of Houston, so we'll see.
And it's nice to see UNC and Duke both in the top 10. You know, that rivalry still being alive after losing both of their long-term head coaches.
Of course.
It's great to see that rivalry is still well and alive. That rivalry might never die. UNC Duke, it might be the best one in all of sports, in all honesty.
Of course, and looking at some things that I really am excited to see it. Seeing Marquette at 5, once again, we talked about it, that's just a happy thing. We love to see that. Seeing Iowa State at 8.
Yeah.
Definitely was not on my bingo card at the start of this
was
year.
Not. Auburn made their way up. They began the season unranked, but I knew they were going to be good. When I watched IU play them, it was down, I think, in Atlanta. Auburn whooped them. Yeah. And I'm like, Auburn's actually half decent, and since then, there they are, 11th. Illinois has just been in this 11 to 15 category for the last 5 weeks. They can't get out of it.
As they stay normally, Illinois it's a basketball state, but college-wise, they're
just mid.
They're mediocre.
Mid.
Creighton at 12, big piece. Alabama at 14. Kind of fell off after the past few years. They were really good teams.
Kentucky's sneaky at 16.
Alabama is the number 1 offense in all of college basketball when it comes to scoring. This team is phenomenal.
Well, they also are pretty bad at defense because they just allowed 117 to Kentucky the other day.
So that's the thing about Alabama is that they're a threat because of their offense. If they have a really good scoring night, they can take out anyone.
Sounds like a familiar team that I know, the Indiana Pacers.
The Indiana Pacers will get 156 put on them, but we'll put 160 on you. So
that's exactly how that works. But how about the South Carolina Gamecocks? They're never really known for their basketball. Up at 18th right now.
Oh, wow.
It surprised you, didn't it?
I didn't even know what that logo was. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's a Gamecock.
It took me a little bit to understand. I was hoping he mentioned that because I was looking at that. I did not want to sound like an idiot, but I had no idea what school that was. So
South Carolina.
They're
an SEC school. Come on, man.
I haven't paid attention as much lately, but I'm back. I'm back in the college.
And then, you see San Diego State at 20. They were in the final of last year's NCAA tournament.
Which was another one of those fun tournaments.
That was a wild tournament. I wish FAU would have won that. I'm not going to lie. FAU had a solid season. They've fallen out of the rankings, though. They were ranked for almost the entire year. They've fallen out recently. They're second in their conference, FAU, but they're still going to be an NCAA tournament team, you would imagine. They could still pull off upsets once again. Last year they were, an 8 seed? Made a Final Four run, obviously via FDU beating Purdue. That really helped them in the long run. But you see Dayton at 21. Dayton has really become a really good program in the Atlantic 10 Conference. Yeah. Dayton is becoming a household name.
And you like to see that, the smaller schools. There's a lot more here that are just not as big.
And you look at 25th. This is the first time I saw this that they're ever ranked. The University of South Florida, USF.
I have friends that go there. Shout out the Grovers, but it's interesting seeing these smaller schools. Like I said, this isn't a normal year. A few years ago it would have been Duke,
UNC,
Kentucky, maybe UConn. That's about it. No one cared about anyone else. It was just those 4.
Gonzaga.
And who did best. So, and Gonzaga, of course. They were number 1 seed every other year and voted on every
also,
other
a team I feel like that's been a household name as well recently has been St. Mary's. I feel like they're always in this region of the rankings.
Oh, yeah. St. Mary's is always there. Even most years, they're always one of those teams that, they are one of those – I call them bracket thinkers. Whenever I'm making my bracket, I remember last year I was making my bracket too. You kind of sit there, you're looking at your bracket, you're like, all right, this is easy.
You see that name, you're like, oof.
You see St. Mary's I don't know who I want to vote here because they definitely make you think a little bit about your more obvious decisions.
And I'm excited to see how the conference ends out between them and Gonzaga because they're both part of the West Coast Conference. Obviously, them two being the top of that, I'm excited to see how that ends out. Utah State and San Diego State are the 2 teams representing the Mountain West Conference that might get 6 or 7 teams in the tournament because they have been a lot stronger this year than anyone would ever imagine. The Mountain West, they got solid teams. San Diego State, Utah State, Boise State, they got a lot of teams I can name. New Mexico State, they got everyone.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun one, of course. And we're also going to look at some of these conferences here. So
we'll look at the Power 6 beginning with, obviously, the Big Ten Conference when we get that next slide.
Having technical difficulties.
Oh, yeah. Press that X and press the next one. There we go.
Jace is very proud of this slide. He spent a lot of time on this slide, by the way.
Hey, it took me a minute. I'll get the rest of them for next week. Don't worry. Purdue, number 1, no surprise. Illinois sticking behind. You see Nebraska, though. We don't know them for basketball, Nebraska. They're up at 5th right now. But looking across this, what surprises you most? And so who's your biggest surprise? Who is your biggest disappointment? Please stop looking at the Indiana Hoosiers and turn around and look at the camera.
I'm saying my womp womp of the year has to be the Hoosiers. I definitely thought that they would actually be a really good program.
No.
I was excited for them.
If as an Indiana fan, this is always going to be a down year. Maybe not this down, but
I thought they were at least going to sneak their way into something, or at
possible.
least look talented.
As of right now, they aren't even in the NIT or the CBI, the third tournament.
So you could say it was supposed to be a down year, but like I said, when I say like my disappointment of the year,
in terms of Indiana Hoosier basketball, this is horrible.
This is awful.
This is like world ending for Indiana basketball fans.
So I definitely was not expecting that. They're my disappointment of the year for sure.
Mine's Michigan. I knew they might be iffy, but like, wow.
Yeah.
3-14 in conference play, iffy, no shots.
They were up there a few years ago, so I mean, even last year they were pretty
even
up
last
there.
year.
So definitely, I could have said them as my disappointment, but I wanted to make fun of Jace, but they're also there too. So.
My surprise is going to be Minnesota. They're usually always 12, 13, 14 in the conference. 8-8, it's been a great job by them to stick in this middle part of the conference this season.
Honestly, I'm going to say the same thing right here. I normally like
not even Nebraska, Northwestern. I mean,
you just talked about Nebraska and Northwestern. I mean, we'll go to Minnesota again. Like, I think I'm in the same boat here. I just think that I wasn't expecting them to be where they are today.
I'll get your early prediction. Who's going to be your Big Ten Conference Tournament champion? You think Purdue's going to run the table, or do you think one of these teams is able to upset them?
I think Purdue's going to run the table here, personally. I don't see them losing it.
Next slide. I don't want to go into Purdue. Let's go ahead and look at the SEC, though. I don't have time to put together a whole special thing again, so I'd put a picture for you guys to look at. But the SEC, Tennessee, Bama up at the top. South Carolina, the Gamecocks, like we were just talking about. Auburn. You look down, Missouri. Ooh, stinky.
Yeah.
0-14. LSU.
Someday we'll be good
There's
at
my
basketball.
womp of the
Someday
year.
we'll be good at basketball again. But
this has been a very competitive conference all year long. Tennessee, Bama up top of it, obviously. Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, all ranked. I mean, you look from Tennessee to Kentucky, that's a really strong group of teams.
Yeah, these are all teams that you can. If someone said that they're a favorite for you to win it in March Madness or be at the top in March Madness, some of these I'll be a little bit.
Maybe minus South Carolina or
most
Florida.
of them I'll be like, like they could be a top 4 contender.
Conference tournament champion. With all of this going on, who's going to win the conference tournament?
Oh, that is a tough one. I'm going to go with Auburn here.
Really?
Auburn is my choice. I think that they're one of the better.
After all of that talking of Alabama, you chose Auburn over them?
Alabama, I said they could be a secretive team. I don't think they can win at all. Give me Auburn.
I think Bama wins this.
I don't have Bama winning. I think Auburn, like you said, they give up a lot of points. Auburn is more of a safer team. I think Auburn takes this one.
Give me Bama. Looking at the ACC now, the Atlantic Coast Conference. You see up top, well, it's the household UNC and Duke. What else would you expect? Virginia, okay, they are decent. Okay, I thought they might be okay. Looks like they might be an NCAA tournament team. Charles?
Don't like it.
Woo! Stinky Notre Dame, stinky Louisville.
I think that Duke and UNC are some of the best teams that you're going to see out there, but I mean...
Wake Forest is going to be a sneaky team as well. They've upset a few teams here and there, including that obviously win over Duke. So,
yeah.
Well, same question. You know what to answer.
Give me Duke.
Duke?
Give me Duke.
Give me Clemson.
Ooh.
Go with the upset pick here. Can't be the same teams in every conference, top teams in every conference.
That's
so
fair.
Give me Clemson. Let's look at the Big 12 now, though. One of the more competitive conferences this season. We can get the next slide button for us. Thank you. You see Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, and then you see TCU up there somehow. Baylor. Obviously, not BYU, since UCF, all the new teams in that conference.
A Virginia school at the bottom where they belong.
West Virginia. That's not Virginia. West Virginia.
You're right. Still have Virginia in the name. Still
Geography.
At the bottom.
Give me Houston West. The
Give me
conference
Houston
tournament.
too. I don't even need it, yeah.
Pac-12. Last season, this conference is going to exist. If we can look at the Pac-12 real quick.
If we can get the next slide, please and thank you. Oregon and Colorado, UCLA, Arizona State.
Minus
Shout out to Nick.
minus these two, it's the stinky conference.
Yeah, go Arizona.
Arizona's going to win this. Last one, so one of the top 6 conferences, the Big East Conference, where Butler is located. There we go. Get a slide in my time this time like that. UConn, Marquette, Seton Hall, Creighton, Providence. I mean, I can name them all.
Yeah, this is
These
fun
are just strong. This is a strong conference. Ooh, DePaul. What are you?
Womp DePaul. Give me Marquette taking this one in a sneaky one.
Creighton.
All right.
I'm going to stick with your Creighton.
Hey, I like to see that. We can come up
Snail.
with things.
Cool. One last thing before we end off here. Our early Final Four predictions, a month away until we get to the Final Four. Charles, actually, this is mine. Sorry.
Yeah, come on, dude.
I look over this and I'm like, whoa, I think this is mine. As an IU fan, I'm not going to speak on it, but yep, it's Purdue. Marquette, I love this team.
Yeah.
I love how they're coached. I love the way they play. They're going to be a competitive team. Kansas, and then my upset pick maybe, the Kentucky Wildcats. I like what they have going offensively sometimes, but their defense can't be iffy.
Yeah.
But this is my early Final Four. Charles, what do you got?
Normally, I hate doing early Final Fours before the brackets are out. It's kind of hard to, we don't even know if they're going to be the same region. But let's look at my Final Four real quick. We have Houston, of course. I've stayed talking about them. And Purdue. Another one. Womp womp. I got Kansas as well as him. I think that Kansas just has all those programs.
I think this is too top-heavy.
It is very top-heavy. And honestly, I was hard because I don't know the conferences yet, so I kind of just went with the teams I felt like are best fit to win it. Zona, second best offense, a very solid defense.
One more thing, early winner.
Give me Houston, early winner.
Give me Purdue. Unfortunately. As an IU fan, this is paining. This pains me every single time I say that name
Which
to win
say it
something.
a lot because Purdue is very good at basketball.
Yeah.
But that's going to be all today from our entirety of Grand Slam Sports. We got to bring in some NCAA. We have some MLB. And, of course, we have some soccer. See you guys next Tuesday at 4 o'clock on UIndyTV and Grand Slam Sports. Thank you very much. Have a good night.